Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to not another episode of Splattercast. No, this is a little something different we're doing. So, with this new reboot of our channel, we're also going to have little bite sized conversation videos about just whatever topic we feel like tackling as far as, news. Maybe there's a trailer we want to cover. Maybe there's, just some news about a property or anything that we just kind of feel like bullshitting about for a few minutes. And today, is Friday the 13th. And if
Oh,
you
spooky times.
haven't noticed by our backgrounds and whatnot, Luke and I are pretty big Friday the 13th fans.
I
We
hate
both
it,
own,
actually.
he hates it, my bad. But we both own our Scream Factory box set very proudly with our lithographs and posters. He's got the lithograph, I have the poster, but we do both own them. Um, I'm a massive fan of this franchise, Luke. I could say that wholeheartedly. It is my favorite slasher franchise. I think if, and I know this has kind of changed maybe a little bit over the years, I would say yours is Halloween.
Yes, Halloween is my favorite, but Friday 13th is a close second. It's like I grew up with Friday 13th. I love Jason Voorhees. It just, Michael Myers edges him out a little bit. But, it could be interchangeable, but I do love Friday 13th for sure.
100%. So, with this being, the Friday the 13th that we've landed on, this one in May, all I can think about, and kind of what you brought this up, and it only exacerbated it even more, is that this would have been a perfect year for a Friday the 13th film to come out because they're always centered around that summertime kind of, feel to them. It takes place at summer camps, always when it's nice and hot outside, which in May, for most of us, you kind of start getting those summer vibes. So I feel like this
Yep.
would have been the greatest year we could have had to release a Friday the 13th film. So I guess our discussion today is we're going to talk a little bit about the franchise. We're going to talk a little bit about where we think it should go if it's ever going to get out of its legal turmoil. Kind of who we'd like to see behind that. Just have a couple of minutes of a good conversation when it comes to Friday the 13th. We haven't covered any of the films yet. And in lieu of, not doing that, we want to kind of save that, for when we feel it's the most appropriate, but we still wanted to do something for the holidays, we'll call it. So yeah,
Our
we're going to talk
holiday.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
So yeah, all things Friday the 13th, this conversation here, especially just with how things have been going, which Luke, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's been going on with this franchise? Why in the era of us getting Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboots and the Halloween reboots, where is Jason Voorhees? What's going on with
Uh,
Friday the 13th?
well, he's in limbo. I'll tell you that much. It's a complicated mess. And from what I know about the whole situation, it kind of goes back to just like screenwriting in general, because I don't know if that the clause is still in scripts nowadays, but I know back then, because I think we're running up on quite a few different properties that are going to be running into this issue of rights reverting back to the screenwriter. And this one was a really unique instance where Victor Miller, the writer of Friday the 13th, wanted his rights back, and then Sean S. Cunningham had come in saying that he had written it under the guise of him, so it's their property, it's not Victor Miller's property. He wouldn't have written it without them saying we need a slasher film. Victor Miller says, no, I had written it previously, and then I just had it and was like, here you guys go. So I have the rights and they need to be reverted back to me. So we're kind of in this whole limbo situation where it kind of even gets more convoluted because of the ruling, where I think Victor Miller has domestic rights
Mhm.
if there was a Friday 13th film, and plus everything in that first film, because it is his property. But post that first film, so starting with part two, Sean S. Cunningham and Horror Inc., I believe it is, they have all the rights to everything post. So that kind of Jason Voorhees that we know, the grown man version of him, they would have the rights to it, but they couldn't refer to him as Jason Voorhees. So it'd be kind of this kind of they would also, I believe, they have the international rights. So I mean, like having one and not the other doesn't make any sense for someone to try and release anything. So we kind of need this working together cohesiveness, which does not seem like it's happening. So there's been appeals from Sean S. Cunningham trying to get the rights back, but there really hasn't been any movement on that. And then I think that the video game kind of fell by the wayside because they can't do any updates on that thing. So it's kind of this just giant mess as to Jason's just kind of sitting on the bench waiting to see who's calling the play so he can get back in the game here, especially with Michael Myers kind of running around having his field day at the box office, no matter the quality of those films. But, right now we're just kind of waiting and seeing what old Jason's going to be doing here. He doesn't even know. So it's just kind of this odd mess that I don't think anyone would have called, especially back, what was that, the 2009 remake?
Yes, yeah, 2009 was the last Friday the 13th movie we've gotten.
Because it seemed like, we were going to be off to the races with
Mhm.
that. And it just kind of stalled out and we hadn't got anything since. And then I remember hearing this whole legal mess and I was like, is this seriously happening right now? Because, for me, I love the possibility of, oh man, an announcement's taking place today and in a year we're gonna have a new Halloween, a new Friday the 13th, a new Nightmare on Elm Street, but right now we're kind of just sitting here being like, yeah, that's not happening for a long while. And I think especially with us diehard horror fans, it's killing us.
Yes, no, I mean it's rough, dude, like cuz it affects everything. I mean, even just like the Friday the 13th game that came out a few years ago, they had to stop producing content for it. And granted, it had a shaky launch because I don't think they anticipated how many people were going to get this game. But they got it back on track from everything I understand. I've played it since then and it is fun. But they had a lot of content that they were going to put in that game. They were going to add more things for more movies, even some original stuff from what I understand, and it's all scrapped because of this lawsuit. I mean, even NECA couldn't put out figures anymore for Friday the 13th. I think that's cleared up because they said they weren't putting out the part 7 figure and then they ended up putting it out, so I think they can put them out again. I don't know how that's going. Someone
Man, how
might
many
want to
times are we going to mention
tweet back.
Part 7, The New Blood, on anything that we do?
I know. I mean, we just covered, and we shoot these kind of ahead of each other. So, we're going to see this video before we get to this, but on our From Beyond video, we talk a little bit about Friday the 13th part 7. So, I mean, you kind of get that, where it's just like it's in a really tough spot. But like if I could snap my fingers right now and say, hey, it's all cleared up. Let's make a Friday the 13th movie. Luke, what do you want to see out of a new Friday the 13th movie? Where do you want this to go? Do you want it to go the route that seems really popular right now with the Halloween route of like we pick up after one of the sequels and we move on from there? Or do you want to see it follow everything? Or do you just want to see a straight reboot? Do you want to see Pamela Voorhees back as the main villain? How would you want to see this Friday the 13th movie going forward?
For me, I think there's a certain charm when you don't disregard everything. It's kind of one of my issues with the Halloween reboots where you kind of just retcon everything and say, no, that didn't exist. But for this one, I know it would be hard to kind of, with the route that they've taken with this franchise. For me, I think I would be fine picking up after 7, to be honest. I think that's because I could say 6, but I don't see why not 7 in this. I mean, the timeline's kind of weird because I don't think they knew what they were doing, but he ends up at the bottom of the lake anyway, so why not just pick up after 7? Plus, um, I like the look of 7, and I think you really lean into. I know 6, you do get the supernatural element, but 7, you really do lean into it. So at that point, I feel like the possibilities endless as to where you'd want to go with this franchise. So why not just pick up after 7? So I think if we're picking up, I don't think a full retcon is in order, but I think you honor those first 7 films and you just pick up at the bottom of the lake, wherever you want to go with it at that point. But I would include those first 7 films.
Yeah, I think personally for me, I do have a pitch that I've pitched to you. If we ever get the opportunity to make a Friday the 13th movie, I'd love to do this. Mine would pick up after 6, but I think you're right. That 6 and 7 wheelhouse there is a really nice jumping off point if you wanted to go that route, because like it's just to the point where now Jason's a zombie. You can kind of do whatever you want with him. He can have fun. And I think there's still a lot left on the table because, although I think that 6 is my preferred film of the two, 7 has such an awesome looking Jason. I think like
Yep.
you really get to that point where he is full blown monster zombie at that point, and he is this unstoppable force that like this is the body he inhabits. And I mean, I'm not going to get there with that, hinting towards that Friday the 13th, the final chapter, or no, not the final chapter, the final Friday stuff
Oh,
there. Yeah, no, I'm not going to go towards that. But like just the idea that this walking corpse is just reanimated by whatever every few years and now is attacking is great. Like it's a really strong place to leave it, because the only other way I think you could do it is go back and then handle stuff like go back and do a full reboot where you
yeah.
do Pamela Voorhees, which I think would probably fail in today's society, which kind of sucks because like I think that'd be a really fresh way to take it. I think if you could do it, maybe you meld the two movies together, but then does that make it too busy?
Yeah.
Probably. But like yeah, I think like it's just I just don't see any realistic room for Pamela other than just
In
kind of how they did it in the Friday the 13th 2009 remake.
And that's what I
Um
was gonna say, where it's like, I'm not a fan of the film as a whole, but I'll defend those first 20 minutes of that film as some of the strongest filmmaking I think in the franchise. I think they included things so perfect that's the way if 2009 didn't exist, I'd say that's the route you go. But since 2009 did that, I wouldn't go back to that because they already
yeah,
did it.
but like for me, kind of talking about that for a second, like 2009 was my gateway drug. Like that's really like I'd always had a passing interest in horror, but that was like really the first time I think I got the bug. The bug bit hard. Like I saw that movie at my cousin's house in Georgia, just after it had come out on DVD. We rented it from Netflix, so when they would still
Yeah.
send DVDs to the house. And I just remember watching that and being like, "Holy shit, this is cool! Like this is spooky. This is different." And like that's really where it kind of the launching off point for me went with all this horror stuff. That's where I went down the rabbit hole hard. So I do have a soft spot for that movie, but I do agree that I guess it would make sense that if you've already done that, it's already been here, done that. Like we need to start off a little fresher, and
Yeah.
we need to kind of take it away. I know a lot of people, not a lot, but like the conversations that were going around was that we'd center up on Jason's father a little bit. How do you feel about that, Elias Voorhees? Do you think there's
No,
anything there? You don't
no.
like that at all?
I absolutely dislike it. It falls in the realm for me, like when they decided that the Man in Black in Halloween they wanted it to be Michael Myers' brother. You know what I mean? Like as soon
Mhm.
as we start adding family members to the franchise, I think then it's already dead. It's DOA. So what's the point in doing it? You kind of keep it contained, keep it to what it is. I mean, I'm not against going back and doing a reboot with Pamela Voorhees, if that's the route you want to go. I mean, I watch it. I'm not thrilled about it. I even potentially, if you're gonna retcon it and do the first one and then a direct sequel to that one, maybe. I'm not fully on board with that because it discredits everything that has happened after that and what we do love about this franchise. So I wouldn't like be 100% on board with it, but I give it a watch. It wouldn't be my first go to. But yeah, definitely, I am wholeheartedly against adding any family members. I didn't even like because I think there's a isn't it in part 6 where they say it wasn't there so they were supposed to film something with Elias Voorhees. Did
I don't
you
know that
um
in specific, but I do know that for this reboot we were supposed to get a few years ago, I think around 2018, I want to
yeah,
say is when they were discussing this, was that it was going to be a story involving Pamela, Elias, and Jason. So they were going to have
Oh,
like
okay.
each act was going to involve one of those characters. So like
I
that's really where he popped up on my radar for it. Because before
okay.
it was just something like Jason's father walked out on him, whatever. Like I didn't need to know it, like I don't
Yeah.
need to know that deep.
I
And that's
think
I agree with you there.
I think like because I listened to a interview with Tom Holland, who did Part 6, and he had said, because like there's a thing. Is it in Part 5 where they say Jason's cremated or something like that, and then they're like, well, now he's back in 6 and he wasn't cremated or something like that. And I think that there was a scene written that Elias Voorhees had paid the caretaker to take care of Jason and not cremate him or something like that.
I
I
believe that's what it was. Yeah, now that you say that he paid him off, that was something that definitely comes back to me a little bit there. Yeah.
and even that for me is pushing it. So,
Yeah,
to kind of keep adding is not what I think is not the route you go.
I think you just go simplicity. I think like
Yep.
that's why that beginning portion of that 2009 movie gets so much praise is just keep it simple. Just
Yeah.
go in and have, it just be, you don't have to get us any real reason to why Jason's back or anything like that. If you want to connect it to older characters, go for it. But at this point, maybe just if you start it fresh, just have campers going out to the woods and Jason Voorhees shows up. Have a
Yeah.
couple winks and nods, but keep it interesting, keep it cool. Don't get too deep in the minutia because, like, I think we're hitting this point with the Halloween, trend that we're on right now with the 2018 film, as they call it, hollow green films.
Yeah.
Like those movies are really hitting this point where I'm kind of like, okay, I think I was really excited for this first one. And just so everybody knows, because I don't know how much we've actually brought it up, we're not big fans of these recent Halloween movies. We'll get into that, but I'm just putting that out there now. So like, if you like them, I'm sorry. I mean, like obviously like them, do what you want, they're yours. But like, I'm sorry to disappoint. But yeah, I think that like they're reaching this point now where it's like, and I get this sense a lot with kills towards the end, where they're kind of like, what is the reason behind Michael Myers? Why is he doing
Yeah.
this? I don't want it. I don't want that.
No.
I don't want that with Jason, especially because you don't need it. That's not what these movies are about. If you watch part 2 through 6, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
it's Jason coming back, killing people in gruesome, creative ways, and giving you a couple of good scares. Like I mean, that's really at the end of the day all we're looking for. I think
And
the game encapsulates that great because people flock to that, and that's all it is. It's just Jason showing up and murdering some camp counselors in creative, twisted ways.
that's where it's like I don't think the uniqueness comes from trying to tell such a different story in any sense, where it's more so like the uniqueness comes from the parameters that need to be set, and then kind of telling a different story around that, where it's like, okay, we need Camp Crystal Lake, definitely we need Jason in it 100%. We need, he's gonna have his machete, he's gonna have his hockey mask, we got it. There's going to be some kills here. Got it. The audience wants it. Now, what are we going to add here to make this feel different? What are we going to do that the previous 7 did not do, that we can kind of say, if we're adding something, if we're adding attributes to this new film that on paper someone's going to be say that is part 8. Like, what are we going to do here? And for me, I'm tired of teenagers. I don't think we go that route. I mean, we can have some, but as cannon fodder, but the main story, I don't think so. I think that's why I like the final chapter so much, where it is Corey Feldman. We're kind of going into this different territory, and I think maybe you can go that route with it. I'm also a fan of an older age group, which we've talked about a property you kind of came up with and wanted to kind of expand upon. And you were thinking about main characters, and there was another main character in there that when I seen it, I was like, that's your main character, because we don't do that ever. And I think that's kind of a unique take on it. I'll say like, uh, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting the film? We did it, Werewolves, Not Swearwolves. He's
Oh,
blind,
you're
he's in,
talking about oh man, now you're making me forget it. It's I'll pull it up here for you, but just keep it
Um,
going.
but anyway, I'm just spitballing. And this is not previous. I did not think like hell. Let's say Camp Crystal Lake has been abandoned. There's nothing there. We're turning it into assisted living territory, and there's going to be an older age group there. And I think that could be something that we could touch on here. Not necessarily that's the route you go, but it's something different. So why not go that route? You still have Jason killing people, and we can kind of do something a little bit different here. And I think that's kind of maybe the route you go, because whatever that movie is that I'm forgetting the name of, it
It is
does
Late Phases.
late phases. Thank you. He's blind, he's older. We don't see that in werewolf movies, and that's puts we still it's a werewolf movie. It hits all the werewolf beats that we love, but it's unique. There are unique attributes to it that we don't see in other werewolf movies, and I think that's what we need with Friday the 13th.
I 100% agree. So I think kind of to bring us kind of back down here to kind of land this ship we're on. We posed a question before we started recording here, and we've kind of talked it back. I want to know, in your words, who do you think would you want behind the camera on a film on a new
Um,
Friday the 13th? What's your pick? And then I'll kind
well,
of rattle off a couple.
okay, I don't have like a set pick. I had mentioned the Duffer Brothers because we know the time period that they can tackle. I know they had wanted to do the Stephen King's It's previously, so I think they're capable of handling those types of properties. Obviously, they have a portfolio of knowing. They hit the beats of Stranger Things all the time. Of being able to kind of copy those types of films, and I think they could do justice to those classic horror franchises that obviously they grew up with. Another one would be Lee Wanell. I think could do. For me, I don't know about the full storytelling, but the way he can handle kind of mental illness, and if we had talked about bringing characters back, obviously characters that have dealt with Jason Voorhees are going to be traumatized mentally, and I think he can kind of bring that to the game of, especially depending on what story we want to tell and who's returning to Camp Crystal Lake, and maybe if killings haven't started until that character has shown up, then maybe we start thinking, is Jason here or is Jason not here? Is it another character doing this? Not Roy, but we can kind of play with it a little bit. So I think those two kind of jumped out at me in terms of potentials. And obviously, you already have name value with those being attached to a franchise like that.
100%. If you want my picks, kind of, again, not necessarily finalizing anything. I think I could probably, if I sat a little longer on this, would think of some other names too. But I'm going Ty West, just with his work off of X recently. I think he hits that tone really well. I think that's a really strong one. Jeremy Saunier from Green Room.
That
Think
would be
he
a good
could
one.
maybe deliver something very interesting for us. Um, and then I'm also going to throw it to Adam Wingard for The Guest and You're Next. I think
Okay,
those
yeah.
are two. I think he really hits that sweet spot really nicely. I don't necessarily like all of his films.
Yeah.
Like I did not care for the Blair Witch recent
Oh, yeah.
upgrade, whatever you want to call that. But I mean, I was worried about, and Death Note I hear is pretty bad, but I was worried about Godzilla versus Kong. I think he did a pretty good job on that. I really appreciated that as a massive Godzilla and Kong fan.
Um, and
Go ahead.
like for me, like Jimmy Saunier could be pretty interesting. Like as because I'm talking about, let's turn something on its head. Let's hit the basic notes of Jason Voorhees, but adding a different element to it. And like, let's just say Blue Ruin, um, like that type of, not necessarily verbatim that type of thing, but like a character dealing with something else, and Jason Voorhees pops up. You know what I mean? Like, how does that? Someone's laser focused on something, and then now we have a man in a mask, you know, and it turns it on its head. And I think that would be very interesting because you could pick out that new element, and it would not feel like the basic Friday the 13th.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that he would definitely be an interesting pick. But I think all the picks we made, they all have their strengths. They all have a few weaknesses. But for right now, I think that that's what we got. But really, there's only one answer, and I'm surprised we didn't mention it already. It's you and me, buddy. We got to make this movie. Like
We
we
are
already
being
got the
modest.
ideas. We know what we're doing.
We already have several pitches.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We are going to be talking to Victor Miller. Okay, we're breaking the news right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No better time than on Friday 13th.
Mm-hmm.
We got this in the bag. Don't worry. We've got new NECA figures coming out. There will be new content to the video game. We've already got this all ironed out. Don't worry.
Yeah, we're saving the franchise, everybody. So, and the last little bit here, I want to throw before we wrap things up here, I want to throw a couple names out here. Just I'm just gonna hit you with a few directors, and I just want your bare bones, honest opinion on what you kind of think would be for a Friday the 13th director. Okay, so I'm gonna hit you with Robert Eggers.
I think so. Initially, it sounds interesting, but I think it would just be too different, and it wouldn't work.
Gotcha. Fair. Rob Zombie.
Horrible. Do not even bring that up.
All right, S. Craig Zoller.
Oh, that could be interesting. Again, if we're flipping things on our head, drag across concrete, running into Jason Voorhees. I think that could be. I think that could be interesting. I think that honestly, that could be one of my picks now that we're talking.
Are you serious? Okay, cool. I like that. And then one I actually should have brought up because I'm just scrolling right now looking through names. Michael Dougherty.
Yep. That one, you know, I'm surprised that one didn't pop up in my head, but I think that could be interesting as well. He obviously he can capture the elements of a Friday 13th. I think he would do it justice as well. Yeah, so I'd be on board with the last two, 100%, actually.
Okay, I feel you. And then I'm just gonna throw another wild card out here. I just want to hit your opinion. Nicholas Winding Refn.
That one I don't know. The jury would be out. I don't. Has he done anything recently?
He's been working on a TV show. Neon Demon is I think his last theatrical film.
Okay. Again, I don't know. I think it would just be too different. I don't think you'd hit the beats.
Too weird.
Yeah,
I like it. No, I absolutely agree. I don't think he's the right one, but I just wanted to throw a couple in there, just a couple of curveballs.
And that's where it's like, I think if you get too a tour with it, that it just wouldn't work out because they'd be telling, you know, it'd be like Quentin Tarantino pitching half the shit that he pitches when he's talking about a horror movie. It'd be like, oh yeah, they're just driving around. Dr. Loomis and Michael Myers are just driving. I love Friday the 13th Part 5.
And I got two more that I actually, now that I see it, I want to throw them out. Zack Snyder.
That'd be great.
I don't think you have any confidence there. And then let's go John Krasinski from Quiet Place there.
I think he might be able to do it justice. I think it's just too early to tell.
I was about to say if you were going to give him the pass there, I was going to say I don't think he's got enough of a resume yet for us to really tell.
He did A Quiet Place too, didn't he?
Yep.
And I didn't like it. I liked the first one. I thought the second one became too Walking Dead for me in a sense. And I don't think it worked. So the jury would be out for that one. I think it's too early.
Understood. But all right, guys, that's going to about wrap us up for our Friday the 13th video here. It's a good little bit of fun. We're definitely going to be talking more Friday the 13th content as we go along with this channel and as we grow. Like we said, we just don't really know when we're going to drop into those films, but I'm sure we will have Friday the 13th adjacent content until then, kind of popping up sporadically. Like we said, some of our favorite stuff, especially when it comes to franchises and killers. Jason has mad respect over here from us. But
I only want to do Jason
wraps
Goes to
it up.
Hell and Jason X. Those are the only two we're talking about.
Oh,
Everything else
that's where you
doesn't
want to
exist.
go with it?
Yes.
Okay. Jason X, I'm fine with, but Jason Goes to Hell, I don't know if you can get me to watch that one again. I watched that unrated version when we got the box sets, and that was about enough for me.
I just want to do my timeline would be the original Friday 13th, then part 5, and then Jason Goes to Hell, and that's it. And then we'll pick up right after that.
Okay. You know,
no mention of Freddy Krueger. We're just like, I don't know.
Just take that part out at the end.
Yeah, his mask is buried in the ground. And there's like digging. They're digging for some reason, and then someone comes across it. And then we start throwing up in people's mouths again.
Okay, so more body snatching bullshit then. Fine.
But no, that's what leads to COVID. It's not even a Jason Voorhees movie.
That's really good. You can bring that into the modern era. See, guys, we got you. Like we said, we got it in the bag. We're handling this franchise. These are the ideas that are popping around in our head.
Summer blockbuster 2023. We're done.
Absolutely. So transitioning out of that, just follow us on Splattercast Pod if you could on Twitter. It's our only social media at this moment in time, but you can also comment down below in this video here on YouTube if you are listening to us there. And I know we will be posting to Spotify our audio versions here pretty soon. So you got a couple different platforms, but I only pimp out the Twitter right now just because that is our main form of communication with you guys. Yes, it's definitely the easiest. But yeah, if you guys follow us on there, follow us on the channel here, hit that bell and give us a subscribe. Like I said, we'll be doing more of these kind of supplemental, smaller videos as we go along here to kind of pad us out. But yeah, that about wraps us up. And I'm Dylan Newell.
Yeah. I'm Luke Janesco.
And
remember, go ahead, Dylan. You get it.
We all go a little mad sometimes. Take it easy, guys.
Billy Loomis.